about the future all the time. It's exciting to know the hidden facts. Every time we act, we need to predict the expected outcome of our actions. Sometimes it's vital to think seriously about your future actions and predict it correctly and clearly. Also, it's important to us to think about the next 100 years because our grandchildren will live in that era. Before we begin our journey into the future, I must emphasize that I am not a fortune teller. I have no crystal ball and I don't practice magic. But by my understanding for the past, I can predict the future. On the one hand, what we did yesterday and doing today will affect the results we will have tomorrow. Just like the domino effect, when we fill one piece, it causes an inevitable fall for the rest of adjacent pieces. On the other hand, the conclusions we reach about the future will affect what we do today, and this in turn will shape our future. Now, I will list some of the ominous trends which are expected to happen in the next 100 years. Firstly, modern weaponry will allow small groups to inflict terrible damage. Someone may use some of the available nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons, leading to a social collapse and large crises. Also, populations will rise extremely fast. Carbon emissions will cause rapid climatic change. Most fisheries will be in decline. Reserves of fresh water will be shrinking rapidly as irrigation increases throughout the world, and rates of extinction will be higher than for many millions of years. Consumption levels will rise fast and will rise even faster as developing countries begin to consume at the levels of today's richer societies. Moreover, the overuse of natural resources in the biosphere will lead to a global crash. I told you earlier that a good method to forecast the future is to understand the past. I will apply this method now with a practical example from the history of an island called Rapa Nui, or the Easter Island. Rapa Nui is a tiny Polynesian island just 30 kilometers long and is one of the most remote places on Earth. A group of 20 to 30 Polynesian colonists settled in the Rapa Nui island from 1000 to 1500 years ago. They raised chickens, planted sweet potato, and fished. Rapa Nui population grew to about 7,000, and the island chiefs began building the large stone statues for which the island is famous. From about 500 years ago, the Rapa Nui society suddenly collapsed in a warfare, disease, and famine. So what happened? Archaeologists have deciphered the history of what happened in the story of Rapa Nui society. They found that the stone statues were carved in one location in the island and moved to its final location on rollers made from tree trunks. Over time, the island chiefs competed to build more statues, and more trees were cut down until eventually none were left. That meant no new wood available for building fishing boats, construct houses, or fuel use. The deforestation of trees in Rapa Nui Island caused erosion, which led to a sharp decline in agricultural production, causing an environmental catastrophe and a population collapse. There were also evidence that cannibalism took place as a result of impoverished conditions, climatic change, and environmental degradation. Rapa Nui colonists must have seen the disaster coming as they cut the last trees, but they continued cutting them. Today, the question is, could modern consumption patterns cause a similar crisis, but on a global scale? What I have discussed so far are some of the ominous predictions in the next 100 years. However, there are also some other possible optimistic predictions. First hopeful trend is that despite the existence of nuclear weapons since World War II, world leaders have avoided a global nuclear war several times. A second positive trend is that some scientists believe that global population growth may slow down as a result of increased living standards, improved health care, and reduced fertility rates. Another good trend is the increased global ecological awareness, as many governments and non-governmental agencies are concerned with environmental issues. There are also continued increase in the innovative capacity to find alternative sources of supply, adapt to changes, and generate social and technological solutions to new problems. Finally, the collective brain learning of modern humanity, magnified by the billions of networked computers, is a very powerful, intelligent, problem-solving tool that can find solutions to the problems we face. Despite all this, there is still one puzzling question that I can't answer. Is it possible for the humanity to find solutions to its future challenges in the next 100 years and do nothing about them?